Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita chapter 1 verse number 11. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yatha bhagam avasthitaha bhishma eva abhirakshantu bhavantah sarva eva hi. Therefore, you must all remain in your strategically assigned positions at the entry points and give protection to Grandsire Bhishma in every respect. After describing the main warriors in the two armies and then concluding that the strength of his army was not as much as the army of the Pandavas, now Duryodhana is saying, therefore, to his commander-in-chief Dronacharya as well as all the other soldiers, that since our strength is aparyaptam, is insufficient, it is very critical that for us to win the battle, we must protect our main warrior Bhishma Pitamaha. In a battle, this is a very strategic point that the main warrior must be protected. As we discussed before, that if the main warrior, the main Maharathi, gets defeated or killed, that would bring down the morale of the rest of the army and they would easily get defeated at the hands of the enemy. By giving this instruction to his army, very diplomatically Duryodhan is also encouraging them, saying that don't think that you are any less important than the other yodhas, the other warriors as well as Bhishma Pitamaha, because I am entrusting you to protect him. If we leave him all by himself, since he is old, he may get distracted and may not be able to fight on all these sides. Duryodhan does not understand what is the potency of Bhishma, because he is internally concerned about the commitment level, about the dedication of Bhishma Pitamaha. So therefore, in order to ensure that Bhishma Pitamaha doesn't get distracted, and if he gets distracted because of his compassion towards the Pandavas, he may become very vulnerable in the war and get defeated easily. So he wants to make sure that all the entry points that lead to the place where Bhishma Pitamaha would be fighting from are protected very well by the rest of his army. Now, this brings up an interesting point, that it seems that Duryodhan is very concerned about Bhishma. Bhishma being a Mahajan, one of the 12 personalities that are described as great personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam. Speaking to the Yamadutas when they were not able to bring Ajamil back, the Lord of Death Yamraj tells them that the religious principles are what are established by the Supreme Lord himself. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. And then he says that these religious principles are understood by 12 special personalities called Mahajans. Who are they? Lord Brahma, Bhagwan Narad, Lord Shiva, the 4 Kumaras, Lord Kapila, who is the son of Devahuti, Swayambhuv Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak Maharaj, grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Shukdev, and I myself know the real religious principles. This is the 20th verse of the 3rd chapter of 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhishma Pitamaha is so special. He is a great Vaishnav. So it seems that Duryodhan is very concerned about his well-being and wants to protect him, and this may be construed as a sign of his Vaishnavata or Vaishnav nature. But is Duryodhan really a Vaishnav? Is Duryodhan really concerned about Bhishma's well-being? This is something we have to consider. There is an important consideration behind every action and word of ours. What may appear externally may not be truth. What we behave externally by our actions and words may not be what is our mood and intention internally. We have to see when we are helping someone, doing something for someone else, are we truly doing it because that is for that person's benefit and is favorable to that person, or do we have some selfish motive behind that? Duryodhan was not so much concerned about giving proper respect to Bhishma or following his orders, because otherwise he would have listened to him earlier itself when Bhishma told Duryodhan, asked Duryodhan, pleaded with him to not fight with the Pandavas and give them the part of the kingdom that rightfully belonged to them. Duryodhan is only concerned about Bhishma because he wants to use him for advancing his own agenda of defeating the Pandavas and getting the entire kingdom for himself. This is called hypocrisy, that when externally we may behave very sweetly, but internally we are not very concerned about the other person. Duryodhan was an incarnation of Kali, the age of ignorance that we are all living in. And this age is also called the age of hypocrisy, where people will not be very straightforward. They will say something, they will think something else, and will do something differently. This is a politician, and nowadays it has become a norm to teach to become very diplomatic, and we are also taught that we must behave very diplomatically. But that is not how the devotees should be. A devotee, an honest person, a truthful person is the same inside and outside. He does not say things just for putting up a show. He actually means it. When he wants to help someone, he actually genuinely cares about that person. That is a sign of a devotee. To not act for one's selfish desires, but to act favorably for the sake of the person that you are serving is also a very subtle consideration in bhakti. Sri Rupa Goswami wrote a very beautiful verse, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam Gyan Karmadi Anavritam Anukulyen Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. Here he is giving an excellent definition of what bhakti or devotional service is. We will discuss this in great detail as we go through Bhagavad Gita, but briefly, today also is a very special day because today is the disappearance day of Sri Rupa Goswami, a great acharya in our disciplic line and one of the foremost disciples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he is saying in this verse that perpetual ardent endeavor meant exclusively for Sri Krishna and performed out of genuine kindness to him, when neither prone to any selfish ulterior desires nor eclipsed by impersonal knowledge, fruitive work, or any other occupation is known as Uttama Bhakti. The point here is Anukulen Krishna Anushilanam, that the act of devotional service that we are doing, are we really doing that to give pleasure to the Lord, or are we doing that for some ulterior motive that we have to serve our own senses? For example, as I am describing these topics from Bhagavad Gita, if I speak this for the purpose of establishing myself as a great speaker and get praises from the listeners, then this will not be bhakti. This will become a material activity. So bhakti has to be done for only the pleasure of the Lord. Similarly, when we serve a Vaishnav, when we serve someone, then it has to be done in a mood favorable to that person, genuinely as in a mood of serving that person. Not just external show, but also internally one must feel that mood of service. In our case, here Duryodhan is not feeling that. He is only making an external show to show everyone that he is concerned about Bhishma, but his concern about Bhishma is only because he wants to make sure that Bhishma leads him to the victory in this battle. This sense of selfishness is so ingrained within us, and this is the cause of our eternal bondage in the cycle of birth and death. How do we rise above this consciousness of thinking only about us and not about others, not about service to the Lord? This is what Krishna will explain to Arjun in Bhagavad Gita, starting from 2nd chapter, and explain him how to become Nishkam, to become free from all material desires. While Duryodhan wants to use the Bhishma for his purpose, Pandavas don't have that mood. They have Krishna on their side, but their purpose was not to use Krishna to ensure their victory. Actually, Arjun told Krishna, "Oh Prabhu, even if you are just there with us, you don't have to fight, you don't have to do anything, just look at us, just observe us, and that is sufficient for us." Krishna said, "Okay, I will not fight, but I have to do something, so I will be your charioteer. I will drive your chariot." And this was enough for the Pandavas. So the difference between Kaurava consciousness and Pandava consciousness is that the Kaurava consciousness or the material consciousness is to use everyone, all that is available in the world, in the nature, just for one's own purpose and not to share that with anyone else. And the Pandav consciousness is to use one's capabilities, one's resources for the service of Krishna and his devotees and his mission, for the well-being of others. Bhagavad Gita will show us the path to go away from the Kaurava consciousness, which in some way almost everyone in this world is ingrained in, and to go from this to the Pandav consciousness. And that is Tamso Ma Jyotir Gamaya. Duryodhan is also thinking that Bhishma will, now the other part of Duryodhan is thinking that Bhishma may give full support to him, because when Draupadi was being dragged in the court after the Pandavas lost the game of dice, that time Bhishma did not speak anything and did not come to rescue Draupadi. So he's thinking, just like he showed complete support for me during that time, he will probably also show the same support for me in this battle. Now here the question does arise that why did Bhishma, who is so much knowledgeable about what religious principles are, did not come to the rescue of Draupadi and did not stop Dushasan and Duryodhan from committing such a heinous act? Actually, Draupadi asked this question from Bhishma when he was lying on the bed of arrows on the 10th day of this battle of Kurukshetra, and asked him that, "O Bhishma Pitamaha, now you are giving such great religious instructions to everyone. What happened to your religious understanding when I was begging you and all the elders in that assembly to protect me, to save my honor when I was being disrobed?" Bhishma then apologized and he said, "Oh my dear daughter, this was the effect of me eating food given by Duryodhan. Because of the salt that I ate of Duryodhan, my consciousness was affected. But now all that salt has gone out, all the effect of the food that I've eaten from Duryodhan has gone out through this blood, and now my consciousness is purified." Of course, Bhishma was a great devotee and he did this because this was a part of a plan of Sri Krishna. But by this, he is showing that when we keep bad company, then there is an impact on our consciousness. So we must be very, very careful. So how did Bhishma reinforce to Duryodhan that yes, he was going to fight on his side? We will discuss in the next verse. Next time, till that time, Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, have a very blessed day.